Week. Dusty Dienst, Faribault's fire chief, is with us. And before we get to the nitty and gritty of fire prevention, Dusty, I know you had an open house on Saturday, and I understand it went very well.
Yeah, it was a hustle and bustle and spot. We talked earlier being in combination with the fall festival and all the events in that area of town. It was a good thing. There was a lot of people. It was good weather.
Well, that's probably the number one thing.
Yeah, I mean, people like to come out and have fun and do that stuff, but the bad weather that we've had in the past takes some of the fun out of it.
Did you grill burgers or what?
There was hot dogs, walking tacos. So yeah, we have some food. Got to have food.
Yeah, it's a Minnesota thing.
Yep, got to have food. But we had a lot of activities, cutting up some cars. We made some convertibles on Saturday. Some other demonstrations, fire extinguisher demonstrations, and a lot of good information.
So did you have that trailer there, the one that you put out fires in?
We did not have that trailer there, no.
No, because that was kind of interesting to watch at Morristown's open house last spring when they opened their brand new beautiful fire hall.
Yeah, and those trailers are great demonstration pieces, but this is Fire Prevention Week everywhere, and if you don't get your name in real early, those are all scarfed up by other fire departments around the state.
Yeah, I know recently you had some farm equipment that was donated to the fire department from, I think, somebody from LeSueur, right?
Yeah, yep, and we have that in waiting. Probably going to use it next year for some training.
So that's just something to think about if you got some old pieces of junk laying around, and you do get a credit for that donation, right? The value of the equipment?
I believe so. There's something along that line, yep.
So it's something to think about anyway, rather than throwing it to the junk heap.
Yeah, and it's still, yeah, they donate it to us, and we do it once a year, so we don't need a whole big backlog of them. But we're always looking for stuff to train on.
I've always found it rather interesting because you and all your predecessors really emphasize fire prevention, which you would think might put firefighters out of a job.
Yeah, that's always an ongoing issue, but our main job as firefighters is to prevent fires. If we don't ever have to go into a burning building, it's safer for us, obviously. So it's a big thing for us to prevent them before they start. We know that we'll never ever get away from all fires. I mean, that's a good goal to shoot for, but with accidental things that go on, eliminating them totally is pretty lofty goal.
Yeah, well, but Jerry was asking you when you walked in about if you had any combine fires yet. There's a prime example.
Yeah, there's just using things as things get older, wiring systems, mechanical systems. There's just certain things that we cannot avoid, but there are plenty of causes of fire that we can surely eliminate.
Speaking of that, how often should you have your wiring inspected?
Well, it's really hard to have wiring inspected because it's inside the wall. So anytime you have any loose outlets or lights that flicker, that kind of stuff, that's when you should start paying attention to them, because most electrical stuff doesn't just up and go bad. There's usually some signs prior to its failure that there's something up.
Yeah. And we were talking earlier about things that can't be prevented. Really, spontaneous combustion would be one of those, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and that's something we don't see a lot in homes. I can remember a fire in Northfield that we went to that was oily rags. They were finishing the cedar siding, and that happened outside. This year has been kind of a bad year on the agricultural end of it with wet hay. I mean, it's been a wet summer, so farmers needing to get that hay up and needing it, and we've had it more than we've had for sure. One large building in our area go up because of wet hay. Talking with the Kenyon Fire Department, they've had at least 4 that they know of that was spontaneous combustion due to wet hay.
Yeah, interesting. Well, this year the theme is smoke detectors, and I promise in the next segment we'll talk about that, and I'm kind of the guinea pig of this because I was telling Dusty last week I moved into my house 25 years ago. I honestly don't know how old the smoke detectors were when I moved in. I've never replaced them, so we're going to talk about that when AM Minnesota continues. Oh my, I might get myself in trouble.
Your field with their portable welding service. So when breakdowns happen, call Metal Services for prompt repair service. Call 583-2144. Metal Services of Blooming Prairie, serving the farming community for over 30 years.
Hi, I'm Molly. I'm Annie, and I'm Maddie. And we are Maddie Chris's granddaughters. We are so excited that our grandma is running again for office. because we know we will have someone fighting for our education at the Capitol. As a recent college grad,
Did you watch the
a current
debate
college
last night?
student, and a high school student,
Watch the
we
debate?
value the education that
Yeah,
we are
that was
receiving and
good.
want to make sure it
I
only
didn't. I
gets
watched
better.
football.
Our grandma fought for the expansion at South Central College, and we can't wait to see what she does next. Vote for our grandma, Patty.
Thank you, girls. This is Patty Fritz, and I approve this message.
Again, AM Minnesota, we're talking about fire prevention because this is Fire Prevention Week. I know during Winter Hazard Awareness Week and during the Spring Severe Weather Awareness Week, they have a special tip each day of the week. Do we do that during Fire Prevention Week?
We do not.
That's maybe something we ought to think about doing. Anyway, what do you want to tackle first? The number one fire you were telling me before we hit the airwaves is the kitchen fires.
Yep, that's the number one cause of home fires in the United States is starting cooking fires. Yep.
Those are preventable.
Those are preventable. Those, usually it boils down to somebody not paying attention, getting sidetracked. There's a lot of different ways that they do start, but a lot of it, if you just pay attention to what's going on and don't take your eye off. It is an open flame or a heat source that you have going, and that would explain that the possibility of a fire is there.
Yep. Don't leave it unattended.
Don't leave it unattended. One common thing that we see, and well, it happens in my kitchen, is the hanging of the towel on the handle of the
Stove.
the oven part. Yep. So there's a flammable piece of cloth right there next to some open flame. So keeping that away from there. Typically there's countertop on either side of most ranges, so papers spill over and tip down and slide down to a flame. So keeping a clear area is a good idea. Try to keep about a foot away from any open flame. That's candles or ranged cooktops.
So don't keep the towel draped over the handle of the oven. You're saying.
Yeah, well, it's a possible cause of a fire. The ovens are made out of metal and plastics that don't want to burn, and then we go and put wood cabinets around them and paper from the mail around them, and a cloth to dry your hand near them. So we do that to ourselves. The manufacturer make them so that they shouldn't catch on fire, and then we kind of void that by surrounding it with stuff that will catch on fire.
And we've talked about this before. You've educated me on this. Don't have the fire extinguisher right next to it either.
Yeah, we like to tell people to keep the fire extinguishers near exits, and that goes for commercial buildings and homes alike. We do see that quite a bit, that highest possibility, like we said, of a fire is in a home is near your stove. So one would think having an extinguisher right there is a good thing, but that puts you in harm's way to get to that extinguisher. We'd rather have you first thought is get out and call 911, and then on your way out there's your extinguisher. Like mine is out my door into my garage. I go from my house into my garage. So if I were to want to go back in and try to at least knock it down, the door is now at my back instead of getting trapped in the kitchen.
And those need to be filled.
Yeah, they need to be filled. They need to be checked. Typically they're ABC, so you can call the fire station if you're not sure what you have or what you should get. But ABC stand for 3 different types of fire. So an ABC extinguisher will put out all 3, and there's a little gauge on them. And the only way you can really know that the thing is good is that the needle is in the good area, and you just check them. And if you put them underneath in a cupboard somewhere, it's not easy to check, and they get pushed behind stuff. So hanging on a wall somewhere that you walk by every day. If you're disciplined enough, you can just look at the gauge in a passing. It doesn't even need to be anything that you cancel something for to do. You're just on passing. You look, you see the needle in the good part of the gauge, and all's well.
And what size do I need, Dusty? Because I used to have, I call it a mini fire extinguisher. It wasn't very big in my kitchen.
Yeah, that's a question that's not the easiest to answer, because it depends on what you think could catch on fire. So obviously the bigger they are, the more fire they will put out.
Sure.
So it depends on what you want to use them for. Obviously if you get too big where you can't carry them or you can't handle them, that's bad. So there's a bunch of different sizes, and I would just recommend one that you can actually lift off the hanger and carry. And one thing I want to make everybody clear of is when we're talking about cooking fires, an extinguisher is not the best thing to use on a cooking fire. Most of the time, if it involves the range, which it does, if it's inside the oven, just shut it off and leave the door closed. It's inside of a compartment that can take a lot of heat, and typically the fire will go out. If it's on top, a lot of times it's in the open, and the extinguisher is under pressure, and when you hit anything up on top with pressure, it's not going to stay there. It's going to push it all over, and now we're back to all of our flammables that we put around our stoves now getting fire pushed onto them. So if you have a fire in a pan on top of your stove, do not use an extinguisher on it. Shut off the heat source and then put the cover on. If you can do those things safely, that's your best bet. And you still should call 911. If nothing else, we can come there with our big fans and help get the smoke out.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for that, Chap.
Mm-hmm.
Again, do not hit the fire with an extinguisher.
Correct. If it's it's liquid or stuff in a pan that you're going to blow out.
So when do I use the extinguisher?
Garbage cans, things fall on the floor, that kind of thing.
Now, the number one thing they wanted to talk about this year is the theme for Fire Prevention Week. Don't wait, check the date, replace smoke alarms every 10 years.
Correct. We've always been very good, and I think most people are very good at changing the batteries. But now we're taking another step forward and looking at the date on the smoke detector, which means you have to get up there and take them down. Not the easiest thing for everybody to do. So this might be a good time to start that. When is daylight saving time? Did we ever look at that?
It's coming up.
It's coming up.
Future.
So when you do that to change your batteries, then you give most smoke detectors not even a quarter turn, just a little turn, and look at the back. There'll be a date on there somewhere, and if it's 10 years old or older,
well, I know mine is, because I've told you before, I haven't replaced mine. I've been there 25 years. I don't know how long they were there before that.
10 years goes by fast, and it's something that we just don't pay attention to. And they're even with CO detectors, they're even backing that down to 7 to 10 years. So
even the combos.
Yeah, same thing, because they use different sensors. So really, when you're replacing the detectors, because we don't know after 10 years the sensors are maybe not so trustworthy. There's really no good way to test the sensors. We can push the test button, and that lets you know that the noise is going to go off, but we don't know how sensitive the sensors are anymore. And early detection is very key. That's why we have smoke detectors.
So you wouldn't recommend I put some smoke up to the alarm to see if the sensors are working?
Well, that's again, that's introducing a heat source or a flame inside your home, and not a whole lot of good can come from that.
I didn't think so. I kind of had the feeling that would be the answer.
Yeah.
So you'd be proud of me. I was in Faribault Farm and Home the other day and was looking at the combos, smoke alarm, carbon monoxide detectors, and thinking, this is what I'll probably replace my smoke alarms with.
Well, and so COs, you don't need as many CO detectors as you do smoke detectors. So like in my home, one in each bedroom, and then one right outside each bedroom. That's for smoke detectors, and then one on each level if you have levels of your home that don't have bedrooms. So every bedroom, no matter what level it's on, needs one inside the bedroom and right outside the bedroom. CO detectors just need to be within 10 feet of bedrooms or in bedrooms. They need to be where they can wake you up. So we see it quite commonly that you see a CO detector down in a utility room. More CO detectors than not are better, but if it doesn't wake you up, it's not doing its job.
Yeah, it's defeating its purpose.
Yeah, so if you're going to have one down there, that's fine, but make sure you have another one up where it can wake you up.
So then put the carbon monoxide combo one. Wow, that window, that's bright. The combo one, maybe outside the bedroom.
Yep, put that in the hallway. That is an ideal setup. So smoke detectors in each bedroom, and then a combination in the hallway.
It also says interconnect all smoke alarms throughout the home.
That's the best protection that you can do right now in a home, other than obviously a sprinkler system. But when we're talking about smoke alarms, having them all hardwired together is ideal. It's not always doable. No, I'd even back off. It is doable. It's just more expensive in
Sure.
older homes that are not already wired.
Well, I guess the bottom line is, what's the average value of a home in Faribault? Is it worth 150,000? I'm just going to use a round number.
Right.
If it's worth 150, I mean, we're not talking big bucks, are we?
No, it really depends on the make of the home and how it's made. One thing I do like that they're coming out with, and we used them at the fire department when we were renovating, was wireless smoke detectors that communicate. So if one goes off without the connection of wires, the other ones would go off. So you can see the benefit of having hardwired or these wireless ones is that, say the fire's in the basement and you sleep on the second level, that fire will be going for a while before the smoke gets all the way up to a smoke detector on the second level. But when they're connected together either wirelessly or by wires, as soon as that smoke detector in the basement goes off, every smoke detector in the house goes off.
Even if the power goes on?
Yep, because they have battery backup. So that is ideal. Of course, just having standalone battery operated ones is better than nothing, and you need to do that in all bedrooms and hallways, but having them connected together gives you that added feature and more protection. Quicker notification, because that's why we put them on the ceiling. I mean, it's twofold a little bit. We mess with the kids a little bit when we talk to them. Is they're up there so you can't get the battery out of there to put into your remote control car. But we all know smoke rises, so we want people to get woke up, because you really don't need a smoke detector during the day when you can see and smell. So the idea is when you're sleeping, the smoke detector on the ceiling gets the smoke right when it gets to it, hopefully to the level where you don't have to crawl your way out, because the smoke is at such a light level that it's up at the ceiling that you can still walk out, and because you can get out quicker that way. That's the idea, is early notification so you can get out right away.
And you said one in the bedroom, because you want me to sleep with the bedroom door shut.
Yep, sleeping with the door closed is a benefit to, even the cheapest hollow core door will keep out smoke for a long time and heat or flame for a little while. So keeping the door closed is a good thing. That's where having them interconnected is really important, because the fire in the hallway will light off the smoke detector in the hallway and let you know on the other side of the door. With the door closed, there's a little bit of a delay there, but if the fire's in the hallway, you're not going out that anyway, and you're going out your second way that you have to have out of every sleeping room. You have to have 2 ways out. So if the fire's out in the hallway, you're not going out the door, you're going out your second way out, which typically is a window.
Yeah. So I need to replace my smoke detectors.
And when you're doing that, I like to add this. They do have combination ionization and photoelectric. So there's 2 different kind of smoke detectors. Now I don't want to confuse you too much, but having 2 different ones in your home is a good thing. They both look for 2 different types of fires, because there are different types of fires. There's the fire that we always see like on TV that is just flames, and the fires on TV don't have any smoke. I don't know how they pull that off, but there's smoke out of every fire. But the ionization, I have a hard time saying that, is a smoke detector that looks for flaming fires. The sensor's a little bit different. Then the photoelectric look for smoldering fires, and I don't know what the ratio is of flaming fires to smoldering fires, but I think a lot of home fires start as a smoldering fire, and that puts off a lot of smoke. So these detectors look for 2 different types. So having at least one of each in somewhere in your home is a good idea.
All right. Dusty Dienst is with us. He's Faribault's fire chief. This is Fire Prevention Week. We don't want fires. So is it part of our code now when you build a home to interconnect these detectors?
Yeah, it has been for quite a while, and obviously that's the easiest time is before the sheetrock's all on. And,
Sure.
And wasn't that long ago where CO detectors then were also introduced into that. So I started wiring, it's been longer than I remember or want to remember. And CO detectors weren't code then, and they are now.
Well, they haven't been around that long, have they?
No, well, 10 years or better. Time flies when you you're having fun.
I know. I had one from my sister as a Christmas gift one year.
Is
That
that
was a nice
still
gift.
sitting in the same place, or are
It
you
was-
using that now?
It was right by the furnace.
Oh, you put it in. 'Cause I think we did this here not too long ago where I had to get after you.
I know. And then, of course, you got after me on the smoke detectors, and obviously I haven't got that done yet.
Well,
But when we fall back in the fall our clocks and we spring forward in the spring an hour, that's when I always change the batteries in my smoke alarms.
perfect. That's what that's what NFPA wants. That's what we all want you to do, to make sure that that battery is fully charged and can go off when necessary.
And then I check the little button,
Yep, check the
but
button.
that's not enough, you're saying.
That is supposed to be done monthly.
I know, that's what it says here.
I know most of us don't do that. I like doing it once in a while because the cat gets all cranked up, so I do it just to get after the cat. But we're supposed to check those, but that does not check the sensor. That just checks the sounding device, so that we know. Then we assume, or we are confident in that when that sensor senses a smoke, that it will make enough noise to wake us up.
And you need to look on the back of the alarm for the date of manufacture. It says here the smoke alarm should be replaced 10 years from the date of manufacture, not purchase. Could
Correct.
be sitting on the shelf for a couple of years after it's manufactured.
Yep. And even though it might be in a box, it's still in the atmosphere, and it's still exposed. The sensor I'm talking about is still exposed to different things. So if you have a smoke detector that's in an area, one that's close to your kitchen, hopefully you don't have one that's real close, because then we get all these false alarms and the cry wolf thing.
Yeah, when the pizza burns in the oven, kind of.
Yeah, but those see smoke more, so those actually become, in my experience, more sensitive. So they'll go off even earlier. There's a little dust, there's a little bit of stuff in there, so a little bit of smoke, which really is a good thing. But if you're gonna get so immune to that thing going off and just assume somebody's making toast or cooking, and sooner or later that could catch up with you when it is a real fire, and you just blow it off.
I do remember in Dad's old milk trucks. I used to ride with Dad on his milk route once in a while. He had a fire extinguisher in the truck. And I seem to recall as a young person that there was a fire extinguisher in the vehicle too, the car.
Yeah, they're not sold in most passenger vehicles, but like fire trucks, dump trucks, work vehicles will have them. Even pickup trucks for construction companies all have them. They don't come with them; they have to put them in there. It's an OSHA thing. But having them in your vehicle is a good thing. I like having them in there, not only for my own vehicle, but if you're traveling down the road, you might be able to assist somebody else with a fire. And typically we see they a lot of time won't put a fire out totally. Anytime an extinguisher is used, you should call the fire department, because water is obviously our best agent to put out most fires, and that's not what is in those extinguishers. The ABC is a dry powder, so it'll knock down the flame, and sometimes it will extinguish it, but it doesn't cool it like water will. So you still need to call the fire department so we can come and mop up what's left.
So the best thing to throw on it would be water.
Yeah, if you can get a hold of water, unless it's electrical, there's always a what if, and that's why ABC, fire extinguisher, A stands for anything that we say leaves an ash. So B is something that comes in a barrel, that's what we relate it to, like gas or oil, and C is anything with current. So at ABC, you can spray an ABC fire extinguisher at an outlet that's on fire, if that's where the fire happens to be, and you won't get shocked. But obviously, if you have the big old metal can like was in the school, like when you went to school, that had water in it, don't spray that at an outlet.
Man, did I really deserve that?
No, I think they were in school and I was there too, so there, we got something in common.
Yeah. Dusty Dean's fire chief with us this morning. Let's see, what else do they say here? I think we covered it all on the fire alarms, don't you?
I think so. We went over the numbers of them, each bedroom on each level. Again, it's just not enough to have them up there. They have to work. So not having batteries in them, having the breaker shut off to them. At one time when we started wiring them, we used to put them on a breaker that was only for the smoke detectors. Well, then they decided, well, people can shut them off. So now they're wired in with lights in your house per se. So if you're not going to have your breaker shut off to a light, so that your smoke detector doesn't go off, because you need that light.
So as I'm replacing these, I will be doing this soon. When I replace the smoke detector, and let's say I have it hardwired, right?
Yep.
That's what's recommended.
Yep.
Is I have it hardwired.
That's that's the best protection. Yes.
That's required now
In new homes.
in new homes.
Yep.
When I built my addition,
Did
on
they
my house,
Did they hardwire one in there?
no,
Okay.
but they should have.
Depends on if that room needed a detector. Not every room has to have a
this
detector.
Was no bedrooms were included.
Yeah, so it probably didn't need one.
Ah, phew. Glad I was. No.
If you do have hardwired ones, though, if you're not comfortable doing that work yourself, you need to get a hold of an electrician, because you're going to have a little pigtail. So you're going to be dealing with wires. So you either need to shut them off or hire somebody, and they'll come in and they'll probably shut them off, and then wire them in for you. And it's not a big job. It's pretty straightforward, but
Especially when you get at it through the attic.
well, you do it from below.
Oh, you do?
Yep. There's an electrical box up behind there with the wiring in it. So a ladder, and from below you can do it. It's only a couple minute job per. You have to make sure all the smoke detectors are compatible, so they have to be able to, what I say, talk to each other. So you want to get all the same brand when you wire them in. Just a little note here on some of these NFPA fact sheets that go around, that by having working smoke detectors in your home, you cut your chance in half of dying in a home fire.
That's big.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Well, I've only got 30 seconds. Did we touch on electrical safety?
We did a little bit with the cords and a sign of electrical malfunctions. Usually there's some signs leading up to it.
Wasn't that long ago that I plugged something into my socket?
Yeah, that's a sign. I mean, most electricity, if it's done correctly, is very safe. We have fuses, we have circuit breakers. That's there for a reason.
Okay. Thanks, Dusty. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Fire Prevention Week, folks. Take heed to some of that information, please. You're in tune to KDHLAM, Faribault, Minnesota.